This is The Brain Truth with Allison Jordan. Repent, renew, reclaim. And now, your host, Allison Jordan.
Hey, Brain Juice! Hello, Brain Juice. Got my brain. Welcome to another episode of The Brain Truth with Allison Jordan. And this is episode 2.7. Yes. So we're streaming live on thebraintruth.com, The Brain Truth Radio, which is an iHeartRadio station. And we're on YouTube. We're on Player FM. We're on Podbean. We're on Amazon Music. We're on Google Podcasts. We're everywhere you find your podcast. Hallelujah. Amen. All right, guys. So tonight is going to be a really good show. But first, I just wanted to give a cool shout out to my sister, Crystalline Mitchum Jordan, and Dr. Ivy, who held it down last week. I mean, it was supposed to be self-care, and I was like, she was here. She had to do the show from my room, and I was like, please don't bother me. But what happened? Everything went wrong. Like the mic collapsed, the lights collapsed, everything. So I had not a lot of self-care in the front end, but baby, we had some self-care on the back end. Dr. Ivy, I don't know, you guys, she's going to come on later. We'll always talk about her sound spa and the sound vibronics. It was just so incredible. And so I just want to thank my team. Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you guys for giving me a day off, and Dr. Gettings. And anybody that ever wants to, I know I'm doing a whole little pitch. Anybody ever wants to sit back in anytime that I want to take a self-care day, come on, y'all, just right on in. Go to thebraintruth.com because I really enjoyed it. So anyway, that's that. Let me go ahead and talk about our sponsors. Okay, we have Swabs and Swirls, which is our COVID testing company. So anytime you guys want to test for a family gathering or a special event, a wedding, we will come out and do free COVID testing and rapid testing. Go to swabsandswirls.com. We have Pretty 1-2 Cosmetics, NAMI South Suburbs, and NAMI Illinois is also a partner, River Edge Hospital, Patch Party Club, Epic Arts and Entertainment, and the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. And just added is an initiative that we're starting calling Be Brave, Take One. So Be Brave, Take One means that's just it. Be brave and take one person to get either a mental health screening, a mammogram, for any kind of disease, but Be Brave, Take One. And we'll be talking more about that initiative over the next couple of weeks. You can always go to our website, thebraintruth.com, click on all of our sponsors' logos, and you can connect directly to them. Okay. Also, if you want to give us some money, because we always need donations, we always are looking for sponsors. So go to The Brain Truth, look under the sponsor tab, or always send us cash to our Cash App. That's $, The Brain Truth. That's Cash App, $, The Brain Truth. And last week was really deep because my sister sat in for me, and then all her friends gave donations. But y'all know that donation came to me. So thank you, Krista's friends, for giving me the money because she sat in for me. Come on back, Krista, so your friends can give me some more donations. So I just want to say thank you. We're always looking for donations. All right. Also, I want to leverage tonight about becoming a brain gang. So we always talk about our brain gang. Again, they're our group of professionals, therapists, psychiatrists, psychologists, anybody who is relevant or has a voice in the mental health community. We always welcome you guys to join our community as resources and as voices and come be on the show, get involved in some of these conversations. But also people always call us or email us, and they're always calling me on like Facebook and everything. And I always want to make sure that I can direct them to one of our Brain Gang members. So if you want to be a Brain Gang member, or we're also looking for members for the Brainiac board. We just started a board, and those are people in any kind of industry that want to sit at the table and help us formulate and frame shows and topics and make sure that we are making ourselves aware of what's happening in the general population. So we just welcome, and he's also on the show tonight, Khalid. He is our new Brainiac board member, along with my sister Krista and also Corliss King. So if you guys want to be on the Brain Gang or a Brainiac board member, and if you also want to be a resource, because we also have a resource tab, and that is to link all of the people that are watching the shows, who I call Brain Joes, to any resources. So on there, we have links to any and every relevant opportunity to connect for help, therapy. We have the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention and a lot of other things under our resource tab. So we're always looking for resources. So if you are a person that can offer products or services that feed to our demographic and brand, everybody go to thebraintruth.com. It's a one-stop shop. Please, please, we need all the help we can get. Okay. All right. So let's get to the brain bit. So, laughter feeds the mind and the soul. So tonight's brain bit, I don't know who sends in these brain bits, but anytime you guys have a joke, send it to us so we can start it off in laughter. Okay. So here's the brain bit for tonight. Okay. All right. If your puppy, like my puppies right here, was a neurologist, what could it do to help your brain's mental health? No. You're a puppy. Think, if you're a puppy, hello. Okay. Run a pet scan. It was funny to me. I don't know if it's funny to y'all, but I hear everybody laughing. See all that laughter? Anyway. All right. So let's get to the brain buzz. Okay. So the brain buzz is just what we talk about that's happening in what's happening in the world, right? Kathy Conley, who's one of our Brain Gang members, gave us the brain buzz for today. So Ben Simmons, I don't know if you guys been paying attention in the news, but he was drafted in 2016 and made a huge impact on the Philadelphia 76ers. Has not played a game for the 76ers since reportedly requesting a trade in June. So apparently Simmons refused to play after this infamous incident. It was some incidents of being called out by his teammates and head coach, and he was not able to handle the critique and pressure and asked for a trade and refused to play for the franchise, citing mental health reasons. And of course, as you know, tonight we're going to be talking about mental health in the Black community. So Simmons also was feeling that the organization was worsening, his mental health through they were giving him fines and targeting him and negative publicity, which I saw a lot of it on Twitter, and forcing him to practice, do shoot arounds, videos, and all kinds of things, right? According to Simmons' agent and Clutch Sports CEO, Rich Paul. Now, even though Simmons, the basketball player, was said to be receiving assistance with his mental health from outside the franchise, which started during the offseason, a 76ers spokesman said that the organization is absolutely not trying to force Simmons into playing, and that they have been fully cooperative by providing an assessment by the 76ers mental health specialists, right? So, of course, Paul, his representative, disagrees with the 76ers assessment, who apparently felt that after they did it, there was no reason why he couldn't play. Paul has said publicly about the 76ers, either you help Ben or come out and say he's lying. Which one is it, right? So now I'm sure against HIPAA, but he had to do it. Simmons will now allow his personal therapist to share the information and collaborate with the 76ers mental health professional as they pursue the best course of treatment. Even after all this rigmarole, right? Simmons continues to be criticized all over social media. So he was already seeing somebody, then they said he wasn't, then they wanted him to see somebody and said something, nothing was wrong. And now he has to open up his can of worms. So what's really sad, though, is that Shaq, everybody knows Shaquille O'Neal, who has over 23 million followers on Instagram, he said he feels Ben Simmons made the mental health a scapegoat for his personal issues with the team. And Shaq contrasted this statement and this situation with how there are so many homeless people. And here's Ben Simmons being paid millions of dollars, and he refuses to play because of mental health. That's what I'm talking about, y'all. How you going to tell somebody they don't have no mental health? He already was seeing a therapist, So anyway, We're going to talk about that and much more. We're going to get into it. Okay. So let me bring on Dr. Getting so we can get to the brain biology part because she's the biologist. Hey, snap up with the brain, girl. So February 22nd, everybody. So today, as you know, is February 22nd, 2222 is a Tuesday dubbed as Tuesdays, like the word Tuesdays. Okay. Anyway, on this day, the aim is to approach life with balance and compassion and seek beneficial collaboration and others around you, focusing on duality and any kind of positive partnerships and balance. This is what this means. I don't know if y'all believe it or not, but this is what it means. Okay. And it's also marking a new beginning by letting go. That's Dr. Ivy's favorite. Letting go. That's what letting go of the past and the negativity that came with it. Now, today, I actually joined unify.org and it was fabulous. It was like this national global synchronization of beautiful events. I know Dr. Geddes, you got on one of our my teacher, my mentor, Dr. Sister Jenna. She interviewed everybody from like Michael Beckwith to Rohan Marley and faith leaders from across the world. So unify.org is just a campaign of events and they invite people in for global and world peace. So today we did a lot of meditation. We did a lot of peaceful stuff to celebrate 222. Are you still meditating, Dr. Gettings? Are you still meditating? Do you feel peaceful? Do you feel peaceful?
Do. I started my day with meditation.
I saw it on Facebook. I was like, go meditation. Usually you'd be like, and then I just sit on my chair and I watch you and I'll be like, woo, that was a hard workout. How much weight did I lose watching you? But today you was getting into the meditation. And as everybody knows, or you don't know, I am a yogi. I'm with Raj Yogi and I was taught under that discipline from the world-renowned Dr. Sister Jenna. So today was a really good day for me. Happy 222222222. Yeah, it was 5 twos. Okay, so in honor of the fact that today was the 222 whatever, Dr. Geddes, you're going to read us 22 brain facts for the brain biology and go.
All right. So today I have for you 22 brain facts for 22222. Number 1, multitasking is impossible. When we think we are actually multitasking, we are context switching or quickly switching from different tasks. The adult brain weighs about 3 pounds. It is 75% water. Your brain triples the first year of life in size. Headaches can be caused by a chemical reaction in the brain. Your brain is approximately 100 billion neurons. It is actually a myth that we only use 10% of the brain. We use even more than that when we are sleeping. Cholesterol is key to learning and memory. Our dreams are a combination of our imagination and also other physiological, psychological factors. Short-term memory is about 20 to 30 seconds. Brain freeze is actually a warning sign to prevent further temperature changes. The brain itself cannot actually feel pain. The human brain gets smaller as we older, but please understand that you can actually help slow that process down by being healthy. Alcohol can impact your brain permanently and temporarily. It can cause vision changes, speech changes, and changes to your gait. It is estimated that the average person has about 12 to 60,000 thoughts per day, and 95% are exactly same as the repetitive thoughts as the day before. Our brain uses 20% of the oxygen and blood flow in our body. Exercise promotes the production of neurotropins, which helps our brain grow new connections. Visual centers of the brain are in the back. That's also known as our occipital lobe. The brain activity can actually power a small light bulb about 22 watts, honey, okay, on 22222. And reading out loud uses different brain circuitry than reading silently. Your brain is
That's why I read out loud, y'all. Sorry, I was reading out
Your
loud.
brain is the consistency of soft butter, and that's why we need our omega-3 fatty acids. And lastly, sleep is imperative.
So those are the 22 brain facts. First of all, can you add a 23rd one? Like, can I remember the 22 brain facts? Number 23. because them was a lot of facts. Okay.
Yes, a
Thank
lot
you,
of
Dr. Gettings. Okay,
You
so
are
let's
welcome,
get into
Tony.
it because tonight it's a loaded show. And we get down to the get down. But before I kind of do my disclaimer and before we get into the show, I want to take a moment to talk about an initiative that we are working with on NAMI, on that really ties in with what we're talking about tonight, the theme. And that is the Sharing Hope Initiative. And as you guys know, I sit on the board for NAMI South Suburbs. And tonight, we're actually going to be bringing in a key person from NAMI, Illinois. So I want to show this clip because I think, NAMI really did an amazing job with setting the tone on how we can address mental health in the Black community. And I know you watched it, Dr. Gettings. I know we went back and forth on what we can show tonight. I know Dr. Ivy sent us some great clips as well. But when we watched what NAMI put together, I think it was meticulously done, I think, enough to address what we're going to talk about tonight. So let's roll that clip. Yeah. So let's roll that clip of the Sharing Hope. Okay.
Yes.
So, Sanaya, question for you. How do you deal with trauma?
I don't really know how to.
Okay.
I kind of just hope that it goes away.
And there's a level of humility that has to come in when we talk about mental health and emotions, because we're not going to understand everybody and why they feel the way that they do. And that's the hardest thing that I think that's been taken from the Black community, is our right to feel.
There's this stoicism about us, and it's like we're not allowed to be upset, we're not allowed to have depression or anxiety.
Our mental health is usually leveraged against us to really be the basis of the science and laws that existed to enslave us.
A lot in our culture think that you can just pray things away. And I believe in prayer, no doubt. I also understand that not one miracle in the Bible occurred without the person needing the miracle taking action.
I was just wondering, what is healing like for you? Like how would you say that you heal?
Be kind to yourself, whether you're a parent, whether you're a child, and allowing yourself to feel. I think it starts there.
Mm-hmm. It's important for us to give ourselves permission to try to find what our words are, to name what's happening.
All of these things that we're talking about, we've never talked about before. And that's what's celebratory about this conversation, is that now we can be better parents, we can be better grandparents, we can be better aunts and uncles. We can say, wait a minute, they need this conversation right now.
You're never really alone. There's somebody out there that loves you or that will love you. You just have to find that person. They'll come around when you need them the most or when they need you the most, and y'all will help each other.
Having that perspective that it's a journey and it's okay to smile through the journey.
Okay, say that again. Say it again. It's okay.
It's okay to smile through the journey.
Thank you. Let's get into our disclaimer, and then I'll be bringing on the guests, and one of them will be from NAMI to kind of explain what we're doing with that program and initiative. So let's get to our disclaimer. The Brain Truth does not serve the purpose of providing medical treatment or therapy services, diagnosis, prevention, or cure for any physical, mental, or emotional issue, disease, or condition. As a member of our audience, you agree that the Brain Truth does not assume liability for any physical or mental disease, condition, or issue, or any other type of loss or damage due to any information shared on our broadcast. So I want to bring on Dr. Ivy, because she's our brain gang. And thank you, Dr. Ivy, for last week. Hi.
Oh, you are quite welcome, my love. It was a lot of fun, actually.
Yes, frequency of love. Hey, Jenny. Yeah. Hi, hey, Jenny. Yes, it was. And I had said, like, after the show, because I remember when I was setting up when my sister was here, and you were like, Allison needs to come back at the end of the show, because I was like, no, because I knew once you started playing that vibrational stuff, I was going to be out for the count. And I remembered laying in the room, and there was a point where I was really forcing myself to try to think about something else. And I just couldn't. It just kept pulling me back into this space. And so the reason I wanted to bring you and Dr. Gettings on early on every time we go into a topic is because I want everybody to know that every show and our intention behind the Brain Truth is to truly go after the mind, the body, and the soul healing for mental wellness. So I want you to just kind of briefly weigh in on your insight on what's important from the spiritual and the soul work, and then Dr. Gettings from the brain as we enter into the conversation about the Black community. It's all the same. It is the work, right?
It really, really is. And I just love the idea of being able to explain and to expose to our community the power of the soul, because many of us, we take care of our teeth, we take care of our hair, we take care of our feet and our nails. But how many of us actually intentionally focus on nurturing the soul? Because the soul, once the body is gone, the soul is still there. So it's going to outlive our physical body. So why not try our best to synchronize the heart, mind, body, and soul while we're living on earth? Because the soul is here to guide us through life in a way that we can feel the joy, in a way that we can feel the love, in a way that we can be on purpose. And the more on purpose we are with our soul mission, the easier life shows up. It's not, we should not have as much pain as we do living here on earth.
Yes.
So and I always like to talk about, this is what came to me about soul. It's a spiritual matrix pattern woven deep into our DNA, nerves, our fibers, our cellular tissue, our genes, our emotions. This is what our soul is really connected to. And so if we connect with that sacred communication connection with our soul, life becomes a whole lot easier. We don't even have to think. You don't even have to think it up. All you have to do is connect with yourself. How about that?
How about that? And Dr. Gettings, weigh in on that, because that's the soul work. Now let's get to this work, because you laid some heavy stuff on me earlier today. Woo-hoo.
Yeah, so excited for this conversation tonight. For me, bringing in that physical knowledge, I do believe as a physician, right, that so many people neglect themselves due to lack of knowledge, right? And I do believe that's in the Bible, right? We perish due to lack of knowledge. So if we don't understand how our physical body works and we don't take the time to educate ourselves about all physical aspects, then it becomes difficult for us to maintain overall health. And so as a physician, I'm always motivated and encouraged to educate individuals, and especially our brain jewels, about how to take care of not only their body, but of course, I'm biased, the brain, right?
The brain.
And understand all the different aspects and components of the brain and how it works and communicates with all parts of us. And I think that if we have more education, there will be more normalcy of these types of conversations, and we won't find ourselves avoiding them, which is what I'm here for.
Yes. Right. So I know I've got to get Khalid in. His bio is going to take over the time that he's going to be on here because he has another appointment. But I do want to get into tonight's topic. The mental health is a topic that is very taboo in the Black community. Some of the reasons why have to do with our cultural belief systems, religion, and childhood teachings that influence how members of the African American community approach mental health treatment. We know that within the African American community, there can be a disregard for the importance of the need for addressing mental health issues. One of the common themes that we see in this pattern of denial and lack of acknowledgement is that our religious beliefs, religious teachings, belief systems become a barrier to us recognizing when mental health treatment is necessary. Hallelujah. Amen. To close out Black History Month, we have 5 mental health professionals here for a much needed roundtable discussion about mental health in the Black community. Our first panelist who has to leave is Khalid Scott, and he's also a Brainiac board, but he has a BS, I'm gonna do all this, MSW, LCSW, CADC, COPI, CSWHS. Y'all gonna have to, that's a whole nother show just to break down his credentials. CWELLPHA. He has a social worker career spanning over 28 years. Currently, he's a licensed clinical social worker, substance abuse disorder specialist in the Department of Veteran Affairs, providing housing and substance abuse. What I'm going to have y'all do is go on the website, thebraintruth.com, and read his full bio. Get on in here so we can get you in and get you out, because I know you got to go. Hi!
What's going on, beautiful family? How
Hallelujah.
you doing?
Yes.
Wow, this feels like I'm in a candy store right now.
Yes.
Wow, on a Tuesday night.
So I know you have to leave, and I know we've got a good few minutes, I think, with you, a good 10 minutes, I think. And I just first want to acknowledge you. I had the pleasure, I know Dr. Gettings and them met with you, and then I had the pleasure, I've known you for many, many, many years, but I really had the first time I had to talk to you on the phone, and you poured so much life in me, and your authentic, positive attitude, and your really transparency about your own situation with your own mental illness and mental wellness, mental health journey that got you here. So I just want to get right into it. From your experience, first of all, in one word, what would you say is the state of mental health in the Black community?
It's going in a positive direction, and let me tell you why.
Okay?
Since the pandemic,
and the show's over now. We're doing great.
Right. Since the pandemic has started, March 14th. Well, March 13th, we were all at going to work at the gym, getting our nails done, grocery store, the bar, everywhere. Right. And then March 14th, they said stay home. And for some reason, on March 14th, a Pandora box opened up. And it unleashed some demons in everybody's house at some sort. And so what happened was, about 6 months into the pandemic, I kept getting these phone calls. When you're a social worker and a clinician, people call you all the time, 24 hours a day, right? They want that free service. So I started seeing a pattern. Not only were married couples calling me because they were going through a lot of turmoil, but then I had Black men calling me. And just like I told you, Allison, a couple of weeks ago, during Thanksgiving through Christmas, I had 7 African-American men call me who were contemplating suicide. And when I asked all 7 of them, why, brother? Why? All of them had the same answer. My wife. My wife
what?
My wife is the reason why I am stressed.
And so you're saying basically because of the pandemic, people were recognizing the stress that was already existing in their bodies, in their mind and their body and their soul. But because we had a chance to sit our butts down, we got in touch with.
Absolutely.
Okay, so that's awareness, right, guys?
Yes.
So does that mean that they're actually getting help though? Like
Well, let me tell you. So I opened up my private practice during the pandemic.
Yeah.
Within 2 months, I am booked solid. And if you ask any clinician, if you call any psychiatric hospital here in the Chicagoland area, we're booked solid now. We're booked solid.
But you see couples, and I don't know, I'm just going to throw that out here. Are the wives the ones saying blah, blah, and then they bring in their husbands? Is that different than men? Are Black men just calling you say, yo, I need some help? Or is it because you see couples and maybe, I don't know.
Well, initially the wives call or women call for their husband, their son, their grandchild, their godson, their nephew, what have you, right? Because us men tend to be more comfortable with women in our lives serving as the bridge. But what I do is, like, say if a wife calls me, I said, well, give your husband my telephone number if he's not in the vicinity, because I need to interview him. Because if you're emotionally blackmailing him to do therapy, I can't take you on as a client. Because I cannot
I mean, he couldn't go nowhere anyway. Because see, men, they go places. See, when my husband, he would leave, but his grandmama probably like, look, it's a pandemic, baby. You can't come up in here now. Right. You know what I'm saying? So they were stuck. I mean, I'm just telling it like a TIS is. They were stuck as F, right? So it was so.
Absolutely. But that's why it was important to get their perspective. And one of the things I do, ladies, is when I do the first session, I tell them two things. Go and look at Ayanla Fix My Life, because I'm the male version of her, right? So they have an idea what's about to be in front of them. Because I have to get to the nucleus of the issue starting at the first session. Right? Then I let them know there is no villains and victims in my sessions. There are two heroes who happen to have a bad day. Because if you start off with you did wrong, I did right, it's going to always be like this. It's going to always be like this.
So have they stayed together? Like, so you're saying you started off, you just threw me for a curveball when you say it's getting better. I'm just like, oh, done now. But what's the end result? Like, are everybody's marriages so amazing? Like you,
no, but what,
I mean,
what
I'm not trying to say, I know you're good at what you do, but are they sticking to it?
Yes, I've lost only one couple, and that's because the husband had a child outside the marriage.
Okay.
But for me, that was a success.
Yeah.
Because unlike a lot of wives, she decided that I come first. I matter. And I will not be with someone who has betrayed me on that level. So for me, that's still a success.
Right.
That's still a success. And what I do is I let them know, not only am I working with you together, but also we got to address the individual you. Because if you're broken and you're trying to work and build something with somebody else who's broken, it's still broken pieces. I need both of you all to be whole and be together, you know?
Yeah.
And even now, I got most of my clients now on the other side, I have mostly male clients. I've never had mostly male clients in my 28-year career. So
that's
men are understanding, I need help. I need help. I need
Why
help.
can't you stay for the whole conversation? Where you got to go? And
I have two other.
So you just cheating on
because of what's going on. I have two other forums.
Cheater. Okay, so let me get on then. So, what role do you think culture and religion play in how mental illness is dealt with in the Black community?
Well, what's happening is, like with men, let me give you an example about men. Men have always shied away from church. Because we always say another man know how another man operates. So if I'm sitting in that pew and I'm looking at that preacher who acting like a pimp, I can't follow you, brother. But see that preacher, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but he knows how to turn on the female congregation. Men, we sit back. So we are not always led by our religion. We feel like we're going to be spiritual, but we also understand that I got to be real and deal with the real issues, but I have my faith as a backup. So the things that used to prohibit us from getting the help, I see a 180 happening now. And again, look at the numbers, but also suicide amongst Black men has risen. So we're in pain and we need help. And thank God we're seeking help now. Absolutely. Even you bringing, developing this forum.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
So how do you think we can remove that stigma of mental health in our community? How do you think, from what the work you're doing?
Right.
And I think by just speaking it out loud, just by saying brothers are showing up, and hopefully a brother would be like, oh, so that's how we getting down. Let me go sneak and get his number, know?
Absolutely. Well, men are understanding because women, you've all got it long time ago. If this is right, everything else will follow, right? So brothers are understanding, if I got this right, then my body is and my soul and my spirit is going to fall in line. And we got to keep passing on, and we got to let men know you're safe to be vulnerable. You're safe to be transparent. Because before we weren't told that. But guess what? Ladies have sons, and we don't want our sons jumping off of roofs or swallowing guns. So we got to start saying, well, men don't cry, men don't whine, because what if something happens to your son? And then when people who are famous, it impacts them. Like when Regina King's son died, I think everybody cried because Regina King is our sister, our girlfriend.
We all associated with that. That was a hard hit. So I know some people are making comments. Thanks to God to be the glory. Let's see those comments pop up there so that our guests can see people acknowledging them. throughout the show. So I know you got to go. I
Yeah.
want to bring on the whole conversation so we can really get into this. But you're a part of the Brainiac board. Let everybody know how we can reach you in
Okay.
case you want to speak at their event, or how do we get in touch with you?
Okay.
Because you're a dope brother. And I love you so much, and we're
Thank you,
just
beloved.
definitely going to bring you back so we can keep you for the whole time.
Absolutely.
We need counseling. We need who gonna counsel us? Dr. Can you counsel me in college so we can stay with me? No.
Absolutely.
Tell us how we can reach you.
Okay.
What's your number?
What's
my
your
number
number?
is 312-43-SCOTT. 312-43-SCOTT.
Oh, that's
I'm at
easy.
www.highachiever.net, and I'm also on www.psychologytoday.com.
All
Khalil
right.
Scott.
Okay. And then you can also go to thebraintruth.com
Absolutely.
and go under the Brainiac board, and you'll see his wonderful photo, and click on his photo, and you can connect directly to him that way as well.
Thank you.
All right. Well, we thank you for being here, and have a good evening. Thank you for weighing in, and we'll continue the conversation. All right. So now that he's taken off and leaving us for someone else, no, we love that. He's so dope. I don't mean to keep making fun of him, but only just when he talks, it's like he draws you in. He just sucks you in. It's like he just got so much to say, you know. Anyway, I want to bring on the rest of the board so we can really get down to the nitty gritty into this conversation. Okay, so I want to bring on Talaya, who's one of our new Brain Gang members, who is a licensed clinical professional counselor and founder of Inner Works Wellness. So come on in the room. Hey, oh, you look so pretty in your pink. See how everybody wears their pink? I love it. Okay. And then, of course, we have back on the show. I haven't seen him in a while. Wait a minute. He's supposed to be a Brain Gang member. What happened? We're going to talk to Stephanie. Ain't he a Brain Gang member? Did he do his membership? Okay, we'll mess with him when he get here. Anthony Ward Jr. is also a licensed clinical professional counselor who is currently the clinical therapist at Rice Child and Family Center Children's Home, and maintains a private practice caseload with Unbroken Family Counseling. Come on in here, Mr. Ward. Oh, hey.
Hello, how are you?
Good to see you.
Thank you. Nice to be seen. Nice to see you guys as well.
And so it also added to the conversation, as I showed at the top of the show, the Sharing Hope video, which was produced by NAMI. And for those who don't know, NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness, is the nation's largest grassroots mental health organization dedicated to building better lives for millions of Americans affected by mental illness. I was about to say African Americans, but it said Americans. But Sharing Hope is for us. So Laura Martinez is the Mental Health Equity and Inclusion Project Director for NAMI, responsible for understanding the mental health needs in the BIPOC communities. What's that? What's that, Dr. Gettings? BIPOC.
People of color.
People, I guess she'll tell me what that means. Okay. In her role, she develops ties with and programs from underserved populations in Illinois with the goal of assuring that these communities have access to quality mental health services throughout the state. Previously, Mrs. Martinez was the executive director of NAMI Kane South, DeKalb, and Kendall counties, where her mission was bringing mental health education, support, and advocacy to the Latinx community in a language they understand. She is well equipped to bring that mission to fruition, having served for 15 years managing the language access to healthcare department at Amina Mercy Medical Center. Welcome, late addition, but a good addition, Laura Martinez. Are you here? Come on in the room with us. So I want to start off. Hey, Laura, how are you?
I'm well. Thank you for having me here.
Yeah, I'm glad. It's perfect. I think it was perfect that you joined, and I reached out to your executive director, Andrew Wade. So welcome everybody to this conversation. I want to kick it off because I want to kick it off like this for real. Because Dr. Gettings, like, y'all don't know, before we do these shows, we be getting down. We always say that, getting down. Ask her husband what that means. We be on the phone all day, all night. Only because it's so much that we have to talk about. And I use myself very transparent. As you guys know, I spent 19 days in a psychiatric hospital from June 20th to July 15th. And there were 9 days of that. Hey, sister Claudia. there were 9 days. I remember talking to the psychiatrist in the hospital. He was like, oh, you're going to say something today? And I said, I don't even know you. I never met you a day in my life. And he said, I've been talking to you every day for 9 days. And at that point, I said, what happened to my brain? What happened to my mind? Right. And I went on a search. I got on my knees. I started praying. And I forgot to tell you this, Dr. Gettys, one of the nurses who's since been fired, I was praying. She came in and said, ain't no such Jesus God. Get off your knees and take these meds. So I remember like, wow, but I was like, I'm praying to my God. And I said, God, when you get me out of here, I literally am going on a journey to find out what happened to my brain and my mind in those 9 days. Right. And I remember when I first did the show and I told everybody the story, people were inboxing me like, I wouldn't tell all my business and how dare you say that and whatever. And I told this one lady, you told me to pray for you when you broke your leg. I broke my brain. What is the difference? And I remember nobody, I mean, I could say Sarita Talbert, but nobody really came to see me while I was laying in that bed for all those days after I came out of the hospital. But if I went into the hospital for the flu or a broken leg, people over here cooking me soup and taking care of me. And I'm being real with you all, whoever's watching, mental illness it hurts. Okay. It really freaking hurts. And if we can have this conversation about what as Black people can we do to first break the stigma. I don't know how many times where somebody had told me it was the devil. It's the devil in you. It's this, is that. And we need to talk about the belief system. We need to get into it right now. And Dr. Getty's kick it off because we talked a lot about when you were reading I let her read my assessment when they diagnosed me with PTSD, depression, anxiety, blah, blah, blah. And you said something really profound earlier today when you were looking at those words. And, I had a friend who had passively told me he had suicide ideation. And as a QPR and suicide prevention, and I sit on the board of NAMI and a peer-to-peer group facilitator, I reported to his caseworker and his Q, and then he curses me out because I had to do what I was supposed to do. And then I literally started crying because I felt like I made a mistake. I felt like, oh God, oh my God, I risked my friendship with him because I told. And that's what's embedded in me is that, oh, this brother gonna come for me because I told what he told me. Hello?
Yeah. So what we were talking about, what you were sharing with me is what I kind of call that swing in the pendulum. If you really look at mental health treatment, it's come from a very dark place. When you look at some of the methods by which we would use to help individuals with identifiable mental health conditions. And so we still have a lot to acknowledge and recognize, because whenever you come from that history, it's going to shape where you're going. It's going to shape the level of receptiveness that a person may have to getting help. And part of that history is really limiting the personal rights and freedoms of individuals who are struggling with a brain disease. And we did a great job with protecting their rights. But now sometimes, due to those protective limitations put in place, I think a lot of people get frustrated when they're unable to obtain help, let's say, per se, for their loved ones. So I think that's something that we still need to continue to work on adjusting, modifying, so that there aren't certain barriers that we have as it relates to privacy, which is what I think you're kind of referring to.
Yeah. So Anthony, what she's saying. So, okay. So because we have this stigma and people don't want to talk about it, right? I wrote to his Q and Miss Allison, can you be reached at the number going across? Yes, I could be reached at the number, but in a few minutes. So I sent a letter to his therapist. Like, even we talked about it, we call it Q, and they're like, stop calling it Q, call a thing, right? And then I guess he told him, but didn't acknowledge that he received it weeks ago. He told him like yesterday or whatever day. And then I get gone off on from him because I said he had suicide. And my thing is, okay, if I was pregnant and I'm with my man and on my water break, he gonna call the doctor and say my water break and shut it dilate. It's no, oh, don't call and tell him that my body, that my body. It's like, call my doctor. I'm in trouble. But it's the secrecy. It's this whole like, well,
Well,
you know,
it's also considering that this is the one specialty of medicine that can again involuntarily hospitalize someone. So it's always going to be linked to restriction of personal freedoms. If your husband calls the doctor and you're in labor and your water broke and you decide you're not going to the hospital, no one's coming to get you. Okay. And they're not going to make you go to the hospital unless they determine that it's neglect due to an underlying mental health condition, right? So what I'm saying is it's tied to the personal freedoms. A lot of people run away because within the mental health treatment system, there's still a chance that you can be hospitalized against your will. And I think that that's necessary at times, but I also think that it's an understandable barrier for individuals who don't want any parts of a system that would restrict their personal freedoms.
So Anthony, what do you think? What are your thoughts about privacy, changing that conversation? Is what's all the, it, I think like the secrecy is part of the whole like, shh, you know, don't tell nobody or you can't. I don't know. I just feel like I did what I was supposed to do. I ain't mean to get cursed out. Whatever.
Yeah, I think we do. I think it's a lot of education, right? If you know that it's okay to seek help, and when you're having issues, to go and reach out to people, I think people won't be as frustrated when they're kind of put out. You know what I mean? Like if you say, I have concern with what you just communicated to me, I think the first challenge I would do is like say, hey, you should tell your therapist about that. Like push it back into the
But they're not going to, because he a black man. So first of all, him even admitting, you know, in that passive suicidal ideation is not funny. So, and I know you work with a lot of youth, and I know we did a show on Zoomers, which was fascinating. And that's a generation that's more apt to talking about their mental illness. But as far as in your black community and dealing with black people, parents, and all that, what are you coming up against most of the time as far as denial and communication, and how does it all get played out?
Yeah, I think we don't want to seem weak, right? So I think part of our tag as African Americans is that we are a strong people, and to communicate that something is hurtful or that I'm anxious about something, I'm worried about something, is to say that I'm not as strong as I'm supposed to be. So I think that's part of the reason why people don't reach out. I think the other thing is just when you say stuff like, you know, that's what white people do, right? If you say that the majority culture are the only people that can go out and get these services, then yeah, that's just not us. I think the other thing is the difficulty with seeing people who are like you actually doing the work. I think that's also a barrier. Like, I'm not going to go and tell anybody that don't know what I'm going through, because then you have to over-explain yourself. You know, they talk about man explaining or whatever you want to call it. Like, I got to explain way too much of my history or my issue of my, you know, my family and what we go through to someone that doesn't look like me. So I think it's very heavy. And that's the reason why we would much rather run away from it than run towards it or seek the help when we need it. I think the other piece for, as an African-American man, it is more socially acceptable for me to show anger than it is for me to show sadness.
Oh,
like
that's deep.
Like you said,
it's more acceptable to show anger.
Yeah. And so anger is the bodyguard of the emotions, right? It's secondary. Normally you feel sad, upset, or afraid, but you show anger because that's what makes you feel strong. And for a man, that's what we're told to do, right? I played football in college, and that was everything. Every one of us are afraid to get hit, but we try to act like we're not. So we dive and close our eyes, and that's why we get concussions. But it's just one of those things where we have to learn that we can feel every emotion, and it is strength to be able to appear weak. It's okay. Like, I cry in movies all the time. I'm a girl dad. So I have a 5-year-old, 3-year-old, 1-year-old girl. Y'all pray for me. And I cry all the time. And I think it's great strength to cry. But that's not something that, you know, when I would walk into the locker room, that was acceptable. Right? That we just didn't. And I think that's what's hard for us to say that I need help, is for me to let other people in on the fact that things are tough for me. And I think we just don't want to have that. And we don't want other people to take away that choice for us, right? So even if we need it, right? Because anytime you have a suicidal thoughts, passive or active, we do want somebody to say something. But that's just, it hits against our autonomy, our sense of self. But I think that's the reason why it's really hard for us to reach out and to ask for what we need.
Talea, come weigh in on what Anthony is saying in your practice. What are you seeing about African Americans? What is your practice primarily made of, and what are some of your experiences?
Sure. So it's mostly women, but I do see a few African American males, and I can certainly attest to what Anthony is saying as far as it being more acceptable to show anger, and then some of those other feelings, are perceived as a weakness. I think as far as your original question about what that looks like as far as destigmatizing, reaching out for help, I think it's just such a loaded thing because of the historical context of like systemically when we have reached out for help, Black people, it hasn't always resulted in that. So if there's a trust issue, even when we're reaching out to someone that looks like us. So I think that's one of the issues that we could address, just talking about it more like in this setting, helping to normalize it for folks is certainly a huge deal, I think.
Well, I mean, I know Laura at NAMI, we're doing the Sharing Hope. And why did NAMI decide? And then I want to see these comments popping up because I can't see them unless we see people popping up on the screen so I can address questions or comments. But Laura, why did NAMI do Sharing Hope? Was there a need for it? And if so, why?
So we all know that within, we're all individuals, but we all have our communities. In each community, we know that we have our special needs. In the Black community, as you mentioned, there are things that are happening within the Black community that are really targeting that specific community, that they have their own issues, their own needs, their own struggles, their own challenges within that community. And so we know that this is something that needs to be addressed. So we NAMI National created Sharing Hope to give the African Americans a canvas to really talk about, what is going on within the Black community. What struggles what are your challenges? What are you going through as a Black person? What are you going through as, within your mental health, within your community, within, the things that are going around you? We know that it's a specific need. We know that each community has a different need. The Latinx community is going through a lot of things. The Asian Americans are going through a lot of needs. So we know that there is needs for each community. And so we wanted to address so that they can really feel comfortable talking within their own community, feeling the connection, feeling the hope, and talking about how can we help each other? How can we, and have that relationship and that building the connectivity and building the hope.
I saw that my mother, Pastor Jeanette, this one. I hosted a Love Thy Neighbor event on Staten Island Community to spread love, not hate. There's a hotline in back of the Love Thy Neighbor ornaments that we hung up on the trees on the island. Organization is Project Angel Hope, the hotline. Okay, there's someone there. Okay, thank you. We must give ourselves permission to say we need help and seek help. That's my mom, actually, who's a pastor. And yeah, I mean, of course, we need to give ourselves permission, but how do we give ourselves permission when we don't even know? Like I was talking to Dr. Gettings and she read my file.
Well, those are, I'm sorry, go ahead, Allison.
Yeah. And I think we were talking about, you were kind of asking probing questions on my behavior over my life.
Yeah.
And I remember having a panic attack at a gas station. And I literally was stuck. When I say I was stuck, my hands were on the steering wheel. I couldn't even drive. And I got to my mom's house, crawled in her house. Now, nobody said, let's go to the emergency room. I think you need a mental health assessment. Just give her some water and anoint me. I mean, I'm just being honest. So how do I give myself permission when I don't know what the heck is going on? And then we're not really looking at it. If I said, oh, I got pain in my left chest, somebody's calling 911, right? Or if I say, oh, my hair hurt, they're like, oh, God, you're okay. But if I'm having a panic attack and I'm crawling across the floor and I can't breathe, Why isn't somebody saying, let's call NAMI? I'm just telling y'all. Hello, anybody want to talk about that? Anybody?
I do. I just want to say that there are usually 3 barriers, especially as it relates to treating anything underneath that mental health umbrella. And it's lack of knowledge, shame, or lack of access. And so when you boil it all down, you got one of the 3. All right. So the lack of knowledge piece is major, because going back to the fact that a lot of us don't even know how our bodies work. And so the things that we identify or recognize as in need of medical treatment is limited, right? Yeah, we all know crushing chest pain, probably a myocardial infarction. Person hearing voices, I don't know, maybe they're possessed by a demon. Okay, so that's what I'm trying to say. Like,
there we go. And that's the title of the show. I ain't claiming it, because how many times have people told me that? Somebody very close to me, when I said, well, we all have some type of mental health, that I ain't claiming it. Claiming what? Because I claimed it loud and clear, and I'm gonna keep claiming it. So hello.
Can I jump in there? So I think
jump in, everybody jump in. This ain't no real this is a conversation. I ain't trying to interview y'all. Y'all just talk.
Got you. So I think part of my frustration is, so I'm a Christian. I also lead a youth group at my church. And one of the things I get frustrated by is that we don't do biblical theology or psychology all that well, and we try to mix it up. We have that moralistic therapeutic deism. Like, we try to just add it all together, and we just end up getting like a Disney Channel movie. Yes. I think the challenge is we really read scripture throughout. The broken spirit, that's depression. Like, when you read throughout Psalms, they are talking about, people literally seeing visions, like experiencing sadness, a deep despair that I want to die. Like, that sounds like suicidal ideation. But we don't really think about that. We don't spend the time to really understand it. So I think the challenge is that education piece is that leaders actually be educated and not just speaking about things without doing their work and their homework. So for me, I get really frustrated anytime I read some kind of Christian book that tries to fold in theology with psychology, and they don't do.
And I wish my mama was on here, because she's weighing in, but she's a pastor. She would have been great in the discussion. Pastor Jeanette Jordan has said something. I think some people do. I think some people do know, but are afraid of not being able to find a safe place to regurgitate their hurts and pains. They're afraid of being judged. Definitely. And that's where you can jump in, Dr. Ivy, because you're also a minister. And that whole church stuff, I'm a Christian too. I was raised a Christian, but I'm also, a person living with mental illness. And when people say that to me, like, you got a demon in you, yes, tell me about what that means. Why do they say you have a demon in you when I had low vitamin D and I could have had estrogen spilling? I mean, that's clinical. All I had to do was take my vitamin D. Okay.
Yes, vitamin D, and also some melatonin and some valerian and chamomile and all of these things that will calm the central nervous system. Because for me, when they're talking about you're demon, you're possessed, it's really, we're talking about energy, the energy of the soul. A lot of times when we turn away from our mission, or we don't spend time to do our spiritual work, to understand the body, why am I feeling this way? Because anger really is inward fear.
Yes.
So when you get angry, you're resisting something. And oftentimes, if anger is overflowing in our lives, we have to really get in touch with our soul emotional self. And we don't do that because of the fear. What if I find out I really am? Well, I don't think that we're going to make it if we continue a social value of being well, and is the only way you can be accepted.
Yeah. And I agree. I think, and now, of course, 2 years later, a lot of my healing was contributed to my faith, and praying and meditating to a point where now I was healed. My heart is so healed from elevating my soul is that I don't even have the heart condition apparently that I had, and I was on blood pressure medicine and heart medication, so I believe that there is a healing that can happen. But in order for me to have gotten there, I needed to go through some stuff. And I think the point of this conversation tonight is to help people understand how to help people go through those stuff. You understand? If so that we can know what to do, know what to say, know what not to say, and stop being ashamed. And it's people the closest to me that be saying the wildest stuff that they don't know, or they don't know the pathology or whatever Dr. Getty's about mental illness, like what happened to me, like, and use me as an example. I'm supposed to be getting my brain scanned on a episode, but let's just talk literally clinically. The brain, what happens? Give us some historical stuff about the brain, and let's just break it down laymanly. Go.
I just want to break down one thing, because what we're talking about is something that has obviously been here for a long time, right? And why, I'm not answering why, I'm just kind of giving you all a timeline of how long this quote unquote debate has been around in terms of how do we treat, address, acknowledge issues of brain health, right? So I was telling Allison earlier, if you look back as far as 66,500 BC, excuse me, many societies viewed mental health problems as divine punishment or demon possession. And they would actually treat it by drilling a hole in your skull or shaving a hole down so they could release the demons. Okay. Now, fast forward, you get to the era of Hippocrates, okay, who said, I don't think y'all got that right. And he actually was able to identify issues related to inflammation in the brain, epilepsy, and actually come up with some classifications that we were able to kind of follow, okay? And his treatment, believe it or not, was music, art therapy, diet, exercise, things that we're talking about now. So it's almost like we go through these cycles, right? So beyond him, 18th, 19th century, we were kind of back to
that's like food for the soul that you just talked about. Sorry.
So going back to, speeding up to 18th, 19th century, you saw more of this trying to limit personal freedom. So you have the asylums, people were institutionalized, they were sterilized, they did genetics to see, or were able to see in your family, oh, you got a problem, then your kid's probably gonna have a problem. So now we talk about the shame and not wanting to share in your family, like this association, like now I can't even be associated with somebody who might be identified as mentally ill, right? And then 19th century, you have Freud, you have the introduction of therapy and talking about things. And then now here we are today, 20th century, they went back to other medical methods, fever inducing, ECT, lobotomy. None of that sounds fun. So I just feel like if you fast forward, we're kind of still dealing with those things. Like none of this sounds pleasant. It sounds like something you would run from. So here we're in the mind med, as they call it, revolution. All right. Ever since Prozac, the incidence of individuals taking an antidepressant has increased by 400%. 1 in 10 Americans takes an antidepressant. That's where we are right now. I'm going to shift and I'm going to tell you all something. There's a major shift. I think before Kylie left, we were kind of talking about that and seeing that the pandemic definitely triggered more people normalizing, reaching out for help, having these conversations and being okay with it. So for you, Allison, as we've talked, a lot of things that I've shared with you is, did anybody look at hormones? Did anybody look beyond some of that normal baseline testing? Because we know if you look at the brain function, you need to look at blood flow, you need to look at aging, you need to look at hormones, you need to look at genetics, head trauma, toxins, so many things that impact how your brain is functioning. Lastly, I got to say this. We need to do better in understanding the parts of the brain and what it's responsible for. Because We have no problem with identifying a person who, let's say, has a stroke and they can't walk across the room. You don't say, loose the demon, get out and walk across the room. That's not what you say. You recognize that the motor part of this person's brain is not working, so therefore they're not going to be able to make that connection. Well, what about the other parts of your brain that are not involved in motor function? And let's remember, there was a time when people with epilepsy were said to have demonic possession or whatever the case may be. So I think if we understand that if my limbic system is not functioning well, my basal ganglia, all these other areas that people like, what is she talking about? Because you don't know what they are, therefore you don't know what they do. How are you going to recognize if it's not functioning? So
exactly.
We need biological evidence, we
Boom.
need imaging, we need to expand our knowledge of brain function. Clearly, we've come from a long time of not knowing a whole lot, and we have to do better, period, for anybody to begin to trust us.
Somebody said once we identify, I think it was Daryl Hubbard, it was up and it went away. Once we identify the mental disorder, then we can believe and ask God to heal. I mean,
but you have to utilize the resources that God has given you here on earth. Just like the man said in the NAMI video, I can't just say God's going to fix it and then I sit back and I do nothing. I do nothing to actually help my condition. That doesn't make sense.
That doesn't make sense. We're dealing with stuff lodged deep down in our soul soil that needs a spiritual awakening. Our soul soil needs the workings of Dr. Ivy, Dr. Gettings, Anthony, Laura, Talea. So, Dr. Ivy?
That was so beautifully said, because I was thinking about, because we're so immersed in the idea of religion and we need the teachings, we need a pathway, but spirituality does that inner work. Religion is helping us to deal with our outer selves oftentimes because it has rules and regulations, it has belief systems that we have to live by, but we have to spend that time to cleanse the soul. And that goes back to what Dr. Gettings was saying, that we need to understand what our brain should be doing and how it should be functioning. And when it's not, we know what to release. We will know what to cleanse. Instead, it just continues to collect every day with no releasing at all. And then one day there's a breakdown.
Yes. And it's work. And I can sit here, I'm having a podcast about mental illness after having gone through it. And if I'm offering information to people, it's like if I was paralyzed and I can get up and walk, people go, oh my God, look at her. She can walk now. She was paralyzed. If I'm telling you I was on antidepressants and I went through it, then now I'm a yogi and now I'm in touch with my high vibration. Y'all can come try to test me. I'm still going to be showing up like this because I'm well. So if I'm telling you what works, listen to what I'm walking now. I'm not in a wheelchair. I'm walking. And that was a combination of Dr. Ivy, Sister Jenna, faith, prayer, all of these things. And I can be, I'm a testimony, right? But how do we collectively, and Talea, you can say it, how the heck are we going to make people to this day? I mean, the show should have had like 1,000 people watching, but a couple people like, well, I got something to do, girl. You know, I can't be listening to stuff about mental illness. I ain't in my, that's above my pay grade. I mean, I've had those people say that to me and I'm like, what?
Well, how many of us on this call right now have never experienced mental illness?
Well, I was going to have Talea first address what I said, and then we're going to ask that question. Good question, Dr. Ivy.
All right.
Yeah, I think it's such a good point. I think I'm going to go to how I practice with people. And like, if this were my client and I was talking to my client, we always have to look at historical context first. So like you were saying, Dr. Gettings, you went into, you know, the history of mental health, what we didn't know and how it affects how we operate now in this field. And then you have like Black people and how we've operated for so long and the lack of knowledge that we've had. I mean, we weren't even allowed to read, for heaven's sake. So, you know, we do have to do better, but it's like we have to acknowledge where this behavior came from. You know, there was a time where we didn't have access to this information. It could cost us our lives. to read anything. So just honoring that and realizing like your behavior now, you don't want it to be rooted in harmful, traumatic behaviors from our past. Like we want to do better because we have access to more information now. So I really think that just if we take a moment to honor, okay, this is where this came from, not, let's just lean on God for everything. Of course, we want to do that in a certain degree, but faith without works is dead. So there was a time though where that's all we had. But it's like we're stuck in a survival mode and we can move into a thrive mode if we could just, shake some of the things that have held us back, that have been barriers in the past, that actually we don't necessarily have those barriers in the same context now.
Well,
I mean, that's an artifact of slavery.
Yeah.
Right? That's one of those artifacts of slavery.
Dr. Joy, Anthony, what is it? Dr. Joy, PTSD, post-traumatic slave syndrome.
Yeah.
Do you know about that, Anthony?
No.
You never heard of it?
Say it again.
Dr. Joy DeGroy, is it DeGroy or
Yes.
G-R-U-Y? She theorizes that there should be an acknowledgement of a condition known as post-traumatic slave syndrome because we all are survivors of a traumatic slavery system.
Yep. I mean, I agree.
Right.
Completely.
Like when you think about PTSD, I was saying to somebody, we all witnessed George Floyd get murdered, right? And we all got PTSD from that. And if a Black man gets pulled over by a police, what's the first thing gonna happen? Your heart rate gonna go up.
Yep.
You're gonna start sweating. He gonna pull up to your car, and all of a sudden, what are you experiencing that moment? Are you experiencing anxiety, a panic attack? Could be. But is that mental illness? Is that a onset of? But I mean, y'all the clinicians, but ain't nobody gonna say nothing, right?
I mean,
we must allow people to choose what methodology works for them. Some medications work for some conditions for one person, but doesn't work. This mental wellness condition is not a cookie cutter, and everyone needs. It may have to be customized. Well, yeah, that's what medication is customized.
Individualized. They absolutely should.
It's definitely individualized. But at the end of the day, the reason we're doing the show is because we know that mental, brain, body, and soul connectivity is it. That's not a cookie cutter. That is, and Dr. Gettys can talk real quickly. Dr. Ivy can talk. Anthony about why does that work? That's not cookie cutter. Everybody needs to get their brain health, their soul health, and their mind and spiritual, all of it. Am I right or wrong? Somebody help me out.
Well, I think especially the spiritual piece for sure, because one thing you have to realize is how you identify is how you approach anything. So even going back to what you speak on, Allison, about algae and that identification, if I identify as a Christian, if I identify as whatever it may be, right? It doesn't even have to be religion. I identify as a Black woman. I identify as someone of a higher socioeconomic status. That really shapes how we approach a lot of things. And so I think that, again, coming from just what we see as a medical model, we even look at biopsychosocial, spiritual. All of those components impact our health, and they all have to be addressed because let's be real, some spiritual identification causes emotional distress for a lot of people for different reasons. That could be a whole nother show.
That's a whole nother show. We bring my mama on for that show.
You get what I'm saying. So yeah.
Right.
I'll let somebody
else. So Anthony.
I mean, I don't know what am I going to express, but
we're talking about the methodology. We're talking about the mind, body, soul. We're talking about it's a totality of work here.
Yeah. I'm really big on the mind-body connection. I think we need to understand that if you don't have a healthy body, you don't have a healthy mind. If you don't have a healthy mind, you don't have a healthy body. So dealing with a lot of mindfulness, I think that's one of those big pushes in the psychological community at this point in time. But the idea is like, hey, sit still long enough to understand what's really going on internally to you. Not just labeling the thought, but also labeling the experience of that emotion in the body. So if I'm saying so if you think about it, anxiety and excitement are the same thing physiologically, right? Your heart is beating fast, your blood is racing, right? Cortisol coming out, right? But it's about what you determine the outcome to be. So excitement is something positive is coming down the road. Anxiety is something negative is coming down the road. So understanding that, okay, something is happening in the body. how can I label this? Knowing what it is then gives me the coping strategy to manage where I need to go from here. So, but I think we just don't do enough of that mind-body connection. I think educating and having our entertainment, like what we're currently doing here, our entertainment is our education. And so the more we see people talk about it, bring it into the forefront of our minds, I think something that is really blessing me as of late is there's a lot of foster child stories that are now out there, right? You never talked about foster care and the foster care system and the trauma that goes on there. And now any like crime drama, any courtroom drama has some kind of foster care story. And I think that brings light to it, that allows us to see it. I think talking about suicide in the greater media allows people to say, okay, this is something that I was experiencing, and it being brought to me in like a story, a narrative form allows me to take in the information more than it would be if somebody just sat down with a book and opened it up in front of me. So I challenge people who are creative, people like yourself, Allison, that can have this forum that it allows people to hear it and hear it in many different ways so that we can do something with it. Outside of that, we're just going to be so afraid of it. We're going to be reacting
and
to
hear it though.
experience.
But I want them to hear it, not have opinions, hear what we're saying. Because you said a really cute word, mindfulness. I know that's what y'all use. But if Black people say mindfulness, we're like, what the hell are you talking about? But if I say, come join me in meditation, people are like, well, that's you. Or, here's some oil, or here's what helped, this is a Palo Santo. And they, that's you burning witchcraft stuff. No, if you Google the resin, Palo Santo, I have the oil and the stick. The oil is for anxiety. The oil is to reduce inflammation. They put this in your regular medicine, but you don't know. And when we talk about Western versus spiritual, Eastern, whatever, Eastern, I was in the psychiatric hospital and I had my peppermint and my lavender, because if you read it or research, it helps with anxiety. Is peppermint, right? And they put it in eucalyptus. You put it on your Bengay. It's masking other stuff. It's the same stuff, y'all. And so I'm putting it on, and everybody in line like, what's that? And then they like, oh, I love it. Oh, that made me feel. Ooh. And next thing I know, they were like, can we borrow your oil? We'll buy you some more. And everybody was in line getting their Cymbalta and they oil. You know what I'm saying? And they Ativan and they oil. And if we just open our minds to like, okay, it's working. We go to these sessions. We were learning how to do the this. I learned this in the hospital, right? But I'm coming home and doing like, ooh, what is that? Is that witchcraft? Is that whatever? No, tell us what this sound does, Dr. Ivy. What is it doing to the brain?
This is so exciting. This is so exciting. You see, now we're talking about, first we were talking about energy, and now we're talking about frequencies. Because when you think about energetic frequencies, when it comes to connecting the mind, body, and spirit, it brings me to the idea of understanding your higher self. Being able to access that part of your mind that is a part of the subconscious, things that we're not thinking about all of the time. Really, really getting to know what that soul means inside of you, and going to a higher place of wisdom and knowledge, so we're not always dependent on what we know. I saw somebody who put in there, I read the word of God. Well, I'm talking about listening to the voice of God and tuning into that voice for yourself, for that guidance, for that direction. So when you can access your higher self, it is knowing and awakening that aspect of yourself that you can be in touch with. Okay, now I realize when my back hurts, it just sticks out and it can punch me, right? But when my emotions start to hurt, I don't know exactly what part of the organs of my body is going to eat at, because we can't see through there. But again, if we understood what those feelings feel like, we'll know when the gallbladder is getting ready to have a breakdown, because we're connecting our mind, body, and spirit, and we now have a relationship with our higher self, which is that mind that connects with the mind of God. So now I'm not trying to do it on my own. I'm listening to the voice of God. I'm
Yes.
creating sacred space. I'm breathing and I'm feeling my skin and my cellular structure. I'm being gentle with myself. I'm being kind with myself. I'm not going to be afraid of discovering that I have some type of an emotional challenge. Because if you are a person of color, and this is what I was trying to get to, and you swear that you have never experienced a mental illness or a mental health challenge, then you are not in touch with your higher self because of our own historical background of post-slavery trauma. It is deep at the cellular level.
Deep.
And so when we don't understand how to release it, all it does is pile up and it turns into dis-ease or disease.
Okay. So you know what? We literally, I feel like we just got started. And I'm getting like, we gotta wrap up. Why can't these shows be 5 hours long, y'all? So let's give final words. Let's start with you, Laura, about NAMI sharing hope and what you guys' conversation. And we're gonna do a part 2. Is our show just so good that it just go by real fast? Because I feel like I even gotten into some really deep, juicy stuff because we didn't even talk about like really for real Black people, and y'all got to stop with this. I can fix it on my own, or it's what no, like y'all get into therapy, right? Get into cognitive behavioral talk therapy, period. Get into essential oils and cellular sound spa. That's this part. Get into understanding medication management. I'm not a person that's not saying don't take medicine. Medicine reset my neurotransmitters. However, then I went on the journey. So when people say, well, that your higher being. Yeah, but I didn't know my higher being when I couldn't get out of bed to wash my butt. I had to first get on my medicine and get some therapy to know I got to get out of bed and get my butt and go find my higher being. You know what I'm saying? And nobody was in here helping me get out of the bed and washing my butt and telling me to go find a higher being. I had to figure that out on my own, but you can't figure it out on your own when you're not well. Hello? Am I making any sense?
Absolutely.
So I'm trying to tell people, if your family member right now is struggling, or you see that they're sleeping a lot or something going on, don't be like, you just need to go lay down and go pray. No, you need to say, let's go talk to somebody. Go on thebraintruth.com, click on one of these people, look up Anthony Ward, because it ain't that easy. If you've never experienced depression, anxiety, do not play. And I'm being passionate because it hurts. It's like no other experience you will ever know until you actually experience it. So I was watching a video of a Black woman who was in the car talking about her mental health, asking people to help her. And they were pray, oh God, I'll be praying for you. And everybody just immediately put up the prayer emoji. Did you really get on your knees and pray for real? Or you just put that emoji that Facebook provided? And 2 hours later, that woman shot her husband and killed herself. She did a TikTok video 2 hours before it happened. Google it. So when somebody's out there, do whatever it takes to help that person if they're asking for help. But it's the shame. And then her TikTok friends were all Black people saying, oh, girl, you be cool. Go get a shot of tequila. Or you do this. And I mean, the comments were like, and I can look at her and say she's in bad shape. And it's nothing. 2 hours later was done. So go ahead, Laura. I'm sorry. Whew.
No, you're fine. And that's the purpose. Thank you. That was wonderful. Thank you so much for that. No. And so the reason why we have sharing hope is because we want to really do that, just share the hope. And sometimes when we are just, letting our feelings out and talking about what we are going through, and other people are listening to what we are saying, it encourages them to say, oh, you know what, me too, or I felt like that too, or I've gone through this too. So it's really the purpose of sharing hope is to encourage people to really open up, talking about their feelings, talking about what they're going through, getting services and resources, and hearing other people talking about what they are going through hopefully makes them comfortable to also share their stories, to also really open up and talk about mental health and see that it's okay to not be okay, that it's okay to talk about mental health and to say, hey, you know what? I have been feeling like this. I am going through through this. And sometimes just saying it out loud is sometimes all that people need. And so the purpose of this is to talk about mental health, to link the African American to slowly get into the NAMI support group so that they can get that support that they need, and services and resources that they need to, get for their mental health well-being. And so we all know that everybody has said it, we've all acknowledged that we have all gone through some type of mental health condition. I think that every single person in this world that's breathing has gone through it.
If they want to admit it.
Yes, and that's the problem.
Depression
That with
is
some
so real.
communities.
Thank you.
Yes, and it's what's the problem with some communities. It's not as acceptable.
Yeah.
It's shameful, and that's why we're really trying to encourage people to really talk about it more and get the help that they need.
Thank you, Laura. We appreciate it. And again, you can go to thebraintruth.com and you can click on NAMI, Illinois, in NAMI South Suburbs, which I'm on the board, and it goes directly to their website to find out more about Sharing Hope and any of the other resources that NAMI provides, the warm lines, the support groups. So definitely go to NAMIIllinois.org. And guys, seriously, register as a member and get that help. So parting words, I think we had some more people saying stuff like, thank you, it's awesome. My mom said something, it went away. I don't know. It was something about oils. I missed it. What does it say? It's your belief in what the oils will do. It's your belief that burning sage cleanses. It may not do the same for someone else. We Christians believe it's your faith that kicks in, that eases your anxiety, that cleanses your space. Yeah, I mean, again, we're all kind of saying the same thing. It is faith, but you can't get to faith until you get to waking up, I think. And I think the point is that if we as Black people start talking about mental health, the signs, the triggers, get people to help. And I don't think that I believe in the sage or believe in anything. It's actually has properties in it that actually helps you. So like the resin,
it has medicinal properties.
It has medicinal. I have no faith connected to it.
They're medicinal. They are medicinal, and they literally communicate with brainwave functioning through the olfactory bulb. It goes right into the nasal cavity, just like any other type of medication, without the toxicity.
Right.
Yeah, I think that piece is kind of like, I mean, it's something that I hear a lot too when it comes to, again, the conversation about belief. But when you talk about like other things that you may need to live, like water and sunlight, is that a belief or is that a vital necessity for you to
need vitamin D? Yeah.
So it's, I think we have to be clear in terms of like understanding, again, physiology. Physiology explains why different herbs and oils and essential oils have an effect on us physically. So, but what I just want to say at the end is from a social aspect. We've talked about mind, body, and soul. I think it's really important to also understand who you're around. Like when you speak about that person who may be in a family where they don't acknowledge, and so no one there is going to encourage. And I think that your social circle, your social interactions have a huge impact on your emotional wellness, and you have to pay attention to that and hopefully surround yourselves by individuals who are willing to educate themselves and understand how the body works.
Thank you, Dr. Gettings. And that's what we're doing at the Brain Truth. And we're developing some stuff that will be for families and caretakers, because if we don't understand, we won't say certain things that just don't make sense. And that's why we're here to educate people so that it makes sense, and it's like undertones of judgments that go on in the Black community.
I want to say something to that.
We got to stop. Yeah. Go on, Talea, your final words. And then after you, Anthony, and then Dr. Ivy, I'm going to be quiet. Go.
As a firm believer in God, I just believe that we need to understand that God created the science. And like what we're talking about is literally science as far as what sage does and the properties and, medicinal properties that are in the things that you're describing and using. Like we need to understand God created these things for us. If we want to link them together so that we can kind of take some of the judgment out, I'm passionate about that. So I really wanted to share that. And then also something that you mentioned about your heart condition going away after you did some work. I'm also a firm believer in like the mind, body, soul connection. Use it in sessions and everything. And I follow the work of Louise Hay, Heal Your Body. So I just wanted to share that as a resource, you know, for us to be more open-minded in our
So
community.
Louise, who was it?
Hay, Louise Hay.
Okay. Okay.
Heal
Is it a
Your
book?
Body. It is a book.
Heal Your Body. Okay, let
Yeah.
me write that down. We could put it on the site.
Okay.
I feel like when I start forgiving people, my actual heart started to correct itself. Could that have happened?
Yeah.
Yes, because holding on to negative emotions change the chemicals in your body, which affect
Boom.
how you feel.
Yeah.
You know, blood pressure medicine, Black people.
No, seriously, there's different conditions that are connected to emotional things that we're that are going unexpressed. So
the
that's a whole
emotion
other
disease connection to Leia. We got to do an emotion disease connection show.
We should.
Yes.
Because I do want to go deeper in that because I mean my blood pressure was dropping and I had to go to the cardiologist. I didn't know, and it was because I was like, okay, y'all can't get to me no more. Sorry. Okay, go on. I'm sorry. I said I want to go talk.
No, that's good. I mean, I think the challenge is that instead of walking in that judgment, believing you know something, actually go do some work and understand what you actually know. I think that's the challenge I have for everybody. Like instead of Googling everything, read a book.
Right.
Grab some actual knowledge that you have to sit still long enough to really take in. I think we assume we know stuff by osmosis, by watching it. Like we got to do some deep work. And again, you know, for me speaking to my Black males or just males in general, it is not weak to seek help. We need it, and we need to be the men. We need to be the husbands. We need to be the brothers that allow this community to move forward, as well as allow our nation to be what it's supposed to be. So I just want men just to hear me. Come on, let's be better. Let's do better. Let's understand more.
I love it. Dr. Ivy, bring it on home. And then a lot of people, you can just pop up those comments, you guys, just so that, you know, people, we can just see it. We don't have to address it, but let's just see it. Because I know Sandra said some that deserve this. She said people should go to therapy as preventative. So don't be saying like, I don't go to therapy. That's for you. I ain't claiming it. Just go to therapy. You go to your doctor. You get your blood pressure checked. You get your mammogram. Go get your brain checked, y'all. Go get a brain scan because we're going to start giving away brain scan. You get a brain scan. You get a brain scan. You get a brain scan. Okay, Dr. Ivy, go.
So what God is putting on my heart to say right now is that, yes, the pathway to the power of experiencing miracles is completely in your ability to believe. What it is that you believe you can create. And I want to encourage everyone that's out there to just understand and open your mind that if you believe, if you are a Christian or a Muslim or any other type of religious belief, understand that in the holy written documents, they will all talk to you about the power of the herbs, the power of the earth. When I went to Africa and we were studying restorative justice and how harm is healed, we learned that if you discovered that you had a mental illness or you were troubled with anxiety, that you would have to go back home to the earth where you were born. And the doctors or the medical professionals there, and even the spiritual healers would dig a hole and put you in it. And you would stay there until what they said, the lunacy is gone.
Right.
So they understand that there's minerals in the soil, and it's something about that brings your emotional system and your hormones back into balance. And that's all we're talking about. You can look it up right now in the Bible. How many times did Jesus the Christ use herbs and oils and crystals for healing? How many times did Jesus the Christ walk the top of the mountaintop just so that he could connect to the voice of God? So all of these things, we're saying the same thing. It's just that now we're talking about it from a very holistic perspective so that everyone, no one is left out.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think we lost you a little bit, and I know you were saying something deep because you were like getting down, but your mic went out.
Oh
Can you
no!
hear us?
No, I think it was a delay in her video. I think we heard.
I think it was a delay. Oh, it's a delay. See, when you start talking spiritual and bring Christians, they don't want nobody to hear this. They don't. But yeah, we appreciate you guys. We can go on and on. Yes, when you store emotions, they manifest in physical ailments. Yes, all these people were saying some really cool stuff tonight. I want to thank you guys. We definitely have to do a second because there was a whole bunch of stuff I still need to say. I had a lot of stuff to talk about up in this here piece. And Laura, thanks for adding, coming to us and adding. I do make anointing oils as outlined in Exodus. Try it. Okay. Yes, she makes incredible anointing oils. All right, everybody. I love you all. This was a great conversation. We got to do this again. What did you say, Dr. Gettings? We were going to do, what was the next thing?
We're going to do emotion, disease, connection.
Emotion, disease.
Yeah, teaching people what certain emotions are linked to certain physical diseases. Like
so that's gonna require Black people who got a lot of diseases to come on back. Okay. Right. So we can talk about what's connected there, everybody.
That's right.
Okay. All right.
That's
so
Louise Hayes' work. That's Louise Hayes' work.
Yes. Okay. Well, we need to put that on the website. We need to put that on the website. So send that to us.
We'll leave y'all with a little preview. We know anger is bad for the heart. Okay.
Yes.
Number one killer in America.
It's also bad for the breast. It's also bad.
It's also bad for the what?
The breast.
Oh, the breast. Did you say the breath or the boob? What'd she say?
The boob breast. The boob
breast.
breast.
The boob breast. Oh, it contributes to breast cancer, anger.
Yes.
Okay, so we definitely need to come back. We're gonna come back. We're gonna come back, y'all. All right, the Brain Truth is a safe place. Hallelujah. All right, everybody. See you. When is the next show? Hey, Darren Hubbard. We're here live every Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. Central Standard, right here at thebraintruth.com. Thank you for watching yet another episode of The Brain Truth with Allison Jordan on iHeart, on Apple Podcasts, on Google Podcasts. We're everywhere. And I just want to say thank you to the guests. If you guys want to get in touch with any of our guests, this is how you can reach Shalea, her innerworkwellness.com, Anthony Ward, unbrokeninfo@gmail.com, and Khalid Scott at Khalid@highachiever.net. Again, Shalea is a brain gang. She's on our website as well. Anthony's supposed to be a brain gang member. I need his papers so he can be listed on the website. And again, NAMI, Illinois and NAMIIllinois.org. And I just wanted to say, this show was really awesome. I want to thank our guests, and I want us to tune in next week for another episode of The Brain Truth. And it's going to be about mentorship and health in honor of Teen Mental Health Day. And we have Jeffrey Beckham and Jamila Tremiel. Did I say that right? See, y'all be giving me music. Tremiel. Okay. will be our guests. So let's get ready for the Brain Bliss. Thank you guys for being here. I love you. And I'll see you guys later. So that was another episode of what we call I Ain't Claiming It. And I want to thank you guys. So let's prepare for our Brain Bliss before we get out of here. Okay. And I'm always humbled to show up for what's possible. So let's prepare ourselves for a clearing of the brain, the body, and the soul. Let's take a deep breath and remind yourself, I am a peaceful soul. I am a pure soul. I am capable. I desire healing. And the power is right here within me. I am open to being authentic. I am open to letting go. Letting go of ego, anger, and attachment. I am open to forgiveness. I am okay. I desire mental, physical, and emotional awareness. I will receive love and give love freely. I am open to a deeper connection to Source. Repair your heart, renew your mind, reclaim your life. I am love. I am love. Thank you, Brangels. And I see you again here next week, 7:30 p.m. Central Standard. Om Shanti. I love you.
Vibrations of love. And some say love is a verb. But much deeper than that, love is a vibration. It is that energy that stirs the soul and opens up the heart. Vibrations of love call out to the divine that connects us with the beauty of life and the oneness of it all. I need not to say it with words, although it is always nice to hear. But greater still is to feel it. Vibrations of love lift me higher, and I fill the empty spaces within the soul.